I'm waiting for it to tell me we're live. It looks like we're live. I'm going to check real quick.
Let me check the YouTubes. I got some.
And I don't trust anything. Okay, we are. Hello. This is weird. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do the intro because this is weird. Hello, and welcome to Chapter 3 Podcast, the show for readers of science fiction, fantasy, and romance. This is Season 3, Episode 9, despite the thumbnail saying Episode 8. Today we're continuing our Dark Olympus read-along with Electric Idol by Katee Robert. Joining me is Shay from Shay Geeks Out. She was here last time. I hope y'all are excited. Obviously, there's no Bethany today. She's had some family things going on, and I've volunteered to continue on alone. So forgive any and all flubs on my part, because I'm used to just showing up and, like, chatting. I don't do this part. Then don't forget you can join us on Patreon or channel memberships for exclusive access to bonus content after each episode. This week's bonus content is going to be about the Kodansha manga app and the Viz subscription service that just launched. So Shay and I are really excited to talk about this. It's something we've been chatting about privately, obviously, a whole bunch. And we'll give you all some recommendations on what to read on those apps. So let's talk about, well, first, Shay, you want to say hi? Tell people where to find you real quick?
Sure. Hi, I'm Shay from Shay Geeks Out. You primarily can find me on YouTube, but I am fairly active over on Instagram. Again, just at Shay Geeks Out. I believe they usually leave links down below, so you can probably just click one of those and you'll find me. But I primarily talk about fiction, I would say, these days, because it's like all-encompassing fiction. I read a little bit of like cozy fantasy. I read a little romance. Well, I read quite a bit of romance. And I read a lot of manga, so I'm kind of all over the place with my reading, but I sure like to read.
Yes, it's the best. I love just reading and going where the wind takes me. But yeah, so we read Electric Idol, book 2 in the Dark Olympus series. This is Eros and Psyche's book. Quick plot summary is that we follow Eros, who is told by his mom, Aphrodite, to go kill Psyche, and he decides he doesn't want to do it, and they enter into a fake marriage. Literally a marriage
Psyche's life.
To protect her from getting killed or him having to kill her. And it is him going, oh no, what is this feeling?
That is one of my favorite tropes in romance. Can I just say that? Because the second they're like, oh, what is this feeling? What is happening to my cold dead
It's a
heart?
lot of him being like, what is this? Wait, why do I feel this? Which, favorite. I would say this is like a moral, Shay and I were talking before, this is definitely a morality chain. When I talk about loving that trope, this is a good example of it. He's kind of only good because he's fallen in love with her and wants to change his ways. Some, I don't know. We'll see if he continues to be good in the other books. If she's enough for him or not. But yeah, we follow their relationship, them navigating, obviously getting married, and then what their like repercussions of these actions are the rest of the book. So it was really, it was good. It was a good reread. Shay, do you want to give some initial thoughts? Like no spoilers, just initial feelings on your revisit?
Yeah, for sure. So going so closely from Neon Gods to Electric Idol, I still remember why I love Electric Idol so much. It is the perfect combination of tropes for me. Psyche is curvy. He appreciates her curvy body, clothes on, clothes off, and it does a lot of things for me. She's very confident most of the time with her body image, which is nice to see, but you still see that natural vulnerability the first time she's taking off her clothes with him, which is something most of us big girls feel when we're entering a new partnership. We, have that moment where it's like, oh my gosh, how are they going to react to my body?
Yep.
And
100%.
You see her go through that, and I think that's a very natural and normal thing. And I loved seeing that on page. There's a lot of really good stuff that way in this one, and it just is the perfect blend of tropes. It's, fake marriage, it's morality chain, it's politics, it's so much good stuff that I just love all in one package.
I agree. I do think I noticed pacing issues more this time around than I did the first time I read Electric Idol.
I would agree.
Not that like it's not like terribly so, in which it was like it ruins the book, but like I just noticed that this one felt And I don't know if it's because of the story it's telling, it felt slower, but in a lot of ways,
It's
it
a
felt like
quieter
that
story than
last
the first one, for sure.
10-15% to me felt a little more rushed than I think
Mhm.
it should have been. I think it should have been spread out a little bit more, but I also felt like we needed that time to see more of the politics and the setup for Dark Olympus in the world and what is going to be happening
Especially
versus
with
what we get
what
in
we
Neon
get
Gods.
in the next book,
Mm-hmm.
especially, you need that political ground kind of laid
You do.
down
You
to
do. Just
understand
100%.
what's going to be happening
Yeah.
in the next
Well,
book.
because a lot of groundwork's laid in this book for
Yes.
the future books, right? We're getting groundwork for Zeus's book eventually. We're getting groundwork for
Helen's book, we get a little
Helen's book, which
groundwork
is
for
Wicked Beauty.
Apollo.
Yeah. Like
Not a
we're
lot, but a little.
slowly, we're like getting like crumbs
Getting all the
as we
crumbs.
go now. So that's been nice. And I it's fun like rereading them because I think I'm picking up on things that I missed last time more.
Mm-hmm.
That I just, I didn't think about, I guess, because I hadn't read the rest of the series.
Yeah.
So,
and again,
fun.
I think this one holds up to a reread, which makes me really happy. Because sometimes when you read something like this for the first time, yeah, you really enjoy it, but then you go back and reread it and you're like, oh, I don't like it as much.
Yeah, I am always terrified of rereading things because of that. So it's a very real concern. I am going to warn everyone, we're going to go into discussion about more of the details of the book now. So if you don't want spoilers, go ahead and leave.
Bye,
Come
see you
back later. I just want to warn everyone, like, I want to keep like a little bit of this like low stakes spoilers, but I do feel like there's not much else we can discuss without fully spoiling the book.
Or spoiling the events of book one. And if you're here and you haven't read book one, you should.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, where do we start? Because I have notes, but I also feel like there's so much happening. I think something fun to note that we get really early in this book and quickly is we start to see the dynamic difference between Demeter's kids, so Psyche and all of her siblings, and also Eros's mom Aphrodite's like caretaking as a mother and what that is or really wasn't present
Like,
comparatively.
Aphrodite is so incredibly toxic, it hurts my soul. Like, already.
Yeah, it was.
Like,
It was such an interesting juxtaposition to watch how much they cared for each other as siblings and stuff, and how much Eros was just like left to be. He's just mommy's little helper. That's it. That's all he exists for.
yeah, and you get those flashbacks later in the book when he's very young, and that made it all hit so different. Even on a reread, it hits different because you kind of know it's coming and you know how bad she really is and what she's gonna do.
Yeah.
And so to see that and to see him slowly realize it all along the way is just, it's so rewarding, but also so hard to go through at the same time.
Yeah. And I think it also
he
demonstrates
himself off because of what she did.
Well, yeah,
and so
totally. And how would you not? And it's also interesting, I feel like, because it plays on Aphrodite and Demeter's relationship in the world itself, also, because like they hate each other. They refuse to like get along. Born in a Book said it was my first time reading Neon Gods and Electric Idol, and I already know I'll be rereading at some point. I love this for you. I'm so excited. I really think the series is so fun. Then Jessica said, how do you turn your kid into your personal killer? That's sick. Exactly. I think that's the part that like threw me. Like, yes, don't get me wrong, Demeter is using her kids to her own advantage to an extent.
But it's one thing to arrange political marriages for your kid. It's another to turn them into your personal vindictive little killer. Like,
yeah, that's the weird part. And, like, he was a teen. He was a teen. Like, that's the other thing. It's not like he was even grown. Like, he was still a child.
But she started grooming him like 9 or 10. Like, even
I know,
younger,
like,
probably.
It's just wild. Jessica said, I can't believe I was cheering for Demeter. I hate Demeter.
Yeah, like, Demeter is cold and ruthless and not necessarily the best parent.
Oh, but I do feel like, okay, so completely to the end of the book.
She truly does love her kids. She just shows it really weirdly.
Yeah, but then you get the moment at the end of the book where they're all together in the kitchen. And it's Demeter and the daughters, all the girls, and it's Hades and Eros is just like, what is going on? And Hades is like, you'll get used to it, it's fine. Yeah, Hades is like, you'll get used to it. Don't worry about it. So it's like, though she's
Because Hades
awful.
didn't really have a lot of that growing up either.
No, but like, so she's awful, but at the same time is like very willing to like welcome people into her family when she decides it's time to, I guess.
That's why I say I'm not saying she's the best parent, but she does genuinely care about her kids.
Yeah.
And her partners.
Like, once she saw Psyche was happy, she was like, cool, we're good. I'm going to put this picture up of you guys on the wall. Like,
and like, that moment just like did all the kinds of things to my heart. It was so cute.
Yeah.
That
was like a complete
with Hades and Eros.
Yes, agreed.
I love that moment. Because all of a sudden these brother-in-laws are starting to bond. It's happening. It's really and you love to see it.
Did you find yourself favoring either of the main characters, either Psyche or Eros, more in the story as a favorite?
I mean, I love them both for different reasons. If I had to choose between them, it's probably Eros. Okay. Just because I love a killer who becomes a softie for his woman. Like, I do. I love that trope. I love to read it. I would never want that in my actual life. I already have a grumpy partner. I don't need another one. I'm good. But it's one of those things where you get to see basically this woman swing in on a wrecking ball, essentially, and break open his walls in his heart. And it's just amazing. Like, one time my partner compared like me, like he basically said he'd built brick walls completely around himself. And I came through with a bulldozer to like get to him, like in his heart. Like, that's what he'd done. And that's exactly what I feel is going on here between the characters. And I think Katee writes that really well. She does that in some of her other series and in some other books that I've read from her. And it's always been spot on for me.
Agreed. So I asked this question because I had the same thought. I was like, normally I don't come out like strongly one way or the other, I would say. But
that's why I'm like, I like them both, but if I had to choose, it would
but I became obsessed
my
with
little
Eros
grumpy
and
man.
how he
my
was
not so
just
little
like
grumpy man.
Just the quiet moments with him, I just immediately became obsessed with. Like, it immediately stood out to me when he's like in her room folding clothes while she packs because he can't handle the mess.
While she like chaotically packs because he can't handle her chaos. He's like, okay,
and he's like, I'm just
can't handle the mess of her room. He's like, okay, I have to do something. I'm gonna fold.
Yeah, and I was just like, this is really funny. Or like when she comes out and he's just in the bed, like he's like barefoot or something, and I was like,
and she's
it's
like,
just like these quiet things where you're like,
person.
Well, it's not even that part. I was just like, it's those quiet things of like, yeah, that's that's the reality of living with someone, right? Like, they're just like in their boxers and barefoot or whatever, laying in the bed.
Yeah,
and, like this, it's like quiet things, or
just
the way he's like, I need your measurements.
Proximity and having to share the living space. There's a lot of really sweet reveals and intimacies that you don't necessarily think of as intimacies until you've been in a long committed partnership, I think.
This is true.
Because then you can understand and respect those because you get to experience them regularly.
No, that's true. And I also feel like he just is even though he's like a killer, he's a very quiet character, which like I guess matches with that persona.
He likes to blend into the background. He doesn't like to be in the front.
And it's just really fun watching Psyche get to notice him and then seeing like the small things he does. Like when he asked her for her measurements so he could get her a wedding dress, I was like, yes. I love this.
The fact that he called ahead to this custom dress shop to make sure that something was there in her size, that she had the measurements. He's like, I need this. It's a rush job. I'm happy to pay extra. I want her to have whatever she wants. And
that was spectacular. And same thing for like when she had to have the conversation of like, I can't just walk in and buy things off the rack. Like, that's not very common for my size.
Because that's not something he's ever had to experience.
So confused.
Between him and his mother, yeah.
I know. And I was like, this is so fascinating how confused he is. Because I don't think, not everyone thinks about this, which I get. Like, but I was like, this is a very real reality for a lot of people that we just can't walk in and buy things. Or they have to get tailoring done and all this stuff. So I don't know. It was funny. Like it felt like a very real, I mean, obviously this is like contemporary set. So it feels very current conversation.
But it's a legitimate conversation that you have to have between someone who doesn't necessarily live their life in a plus size body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it's a conversation those of us who live in bigger bodies have constantly with people who just like don't believe that it's not that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, I
Or
just go
you
to the
tell them a
store.
number and they're like, no, that's not the
Yeah.
real number. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, exactly. She hated the mirrors from Born in a Book. She hated the mirrors all over his place and the way they end up making use of the mirrors. Love. Yes. The mirrors.
First time they start utilizing the mirrors, I'm just like, oh, so good.
It's so, like, this entire book is so hot. Like, the fact that also they're just like the sex in it is spectacular. This entire book.
Yeah.
Like, I just, every time they were
It
boning,
is
I was like,
some
yes.
of my favorite smutty scenes from Katee.
Same.
And I think that's why this one tends to stand as my favorite in the series at this point.
Have you read Wicked Beauty yet?
I have, and I love Wicked Beauty.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong.
Because I really love the smutty scenes in Wicked
Beauty. I think I just relate to the coupling more here than I do in Wicked Beauty. So it's a different kind of enjoyment for me.
Yeah. No, I get that. I just Wicked Beauty is very steamy. But also there's a lot more tension in this than there is in this, I feel like, at the same time somehow. Because of the competition.
It is a slower story because you have a pretty high stakes one with Persephone. Yes, there are some high stakes here, but there isn't really a lot of action happening constantly.
Yeah.
Like
we're kind of like just constantly building up to what is Aphrodite gonna do in this book.
Yeah.
Which I think was my biggest struggle in a way.
Okay.
Because I think that's why I feel like the pacing felt off, because it took until like 15% for us to see anything come of that, right? Like,
yeah.
It took, like, you know, them going to Helen's party and Persephone getting shot at, and then Zeus being like, I'm not going to do anything, to them being like, okay, would you reformulate the plan? You know, at that point, Demeter's on board. Aphrodite's just out for blood because she's mad that she didn't get her way.
Yeah.
Like, I just think that part took too long to get there.
Aphrodite's just a spoiled child, man. Like, that is all that
really is a spoiled brat. It is ridiculous.
Now, another thing that we didn't mention, talking about kind of quiet moments. I love the moment in the hallway before the wedding, where Demeter and Psyche have their moment together.
Yes.
And she's like, if anybody's going to walk you down the aisle, it better be me, kind of a thing. And it's like, you know, I thought with you, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. And they just have this really beautiful moment, just that mother-daughter moment that moms and daughters have sometimes.
Yeah, I loved that moment. And I think that was a moment that also, for me, made me like Demeter more than I previously had.
No, I agree. Because you got to see more of her softness, which we really didn't get much of in Neon Gods. But in this one, you get to see it a little more, between seeing the family dinner, seeing this moment, seeing her really come around to, and like her and Persephone having brunch and little things like that you see. She does care about her girls.
Yeah.
And you getting to see that more helps you understand, yes, she's an ambitious woman, but at the same time, she's a mama bear, and she will do anything to protect her kids. And even if she's going about it the wrong way, she's still trying to empower her kids to protect them.
Exactly.
Not just for herself, but for their protection too.
Well, and I love how much, even with that, the sisters are like, no. What do we need to do? What's going on? Like, this is weird. Like, we have to figure this out, and like, we'll help you. Like, I love how much they all
that says, you guys have been taking care of us long enough. It's my turn.
Yeah, that moment especially was bananas. Like, reading it now, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
It hits different now.
It does, because we know too much. But yeah, I love there's just a lot of quiet moments in this one for sure, which I think again affects that pacing issue I had. It still was like a 4.5 for me. So
yeah,
it wasn't like this is terrible.
And so a lot of people, I think, will feel like it suffers from like second book syndrome, where you know, it's kind of a bridge to the next big action point. But this one really does a lot of the heavy lifting for the series as a whole. Having gotten halfway through Radiant Sin before getting distracted with other things, and having read Wicked Beauty, it really does so much heavy lifting for this
It does.
series in establishing the hierarchy of the 13. They're not just the boogeyman anymore. Like you see how they operate.
Well, and you see
and their hands are legitimately tied sometimes, and even though they want to help, they can't.
What is the new Zeus's regular name? Oh my gosh.
Eurydice? No.
Either way,
Perseus?
new Zeus. Perseus, that's it.
Perseus.
I was like, it's not Patroclus. It's not the Wicked Beauty Sky. I was like, my brain has left that one behind. Anyways, Perseus, as the new Zeus, even, like, when they come to him and are like, we need your help, he's like, I can't do anything unless you have hard proof. My hands are tied. And if you mess with my sister again, or something, you bring something to her,
it's not gonna matter. We're gonna have problems.
We're gonna have issues, and I'm not. You better handle this. And I was like, it's really funny because he's like, I know you want to like leverage this friendship we had, but like we can't do that. Like I can't do that. I have to think in the interest of Zeus. It's very different, which is like a part of the story I feel like we haven't gotten extensively yet because we've not dealt with anyone who's like directly in the 13 besides Hades.
And he wasn't even really like directly involved. He was pushed to the outside.
Exactly.
Jessica's over here commenting, I didn't care for Persephone telling Psyche's business to Demeter. Like, ma'am, your own shit before, and we just had to go with it. Honestly,
you're not wrong here. No, you're not wrong, Jessica. This is true. And thank you. I was like, my brain
I honestly wish we would have gotten a scene of that brunch, because I bet you that Demeter put the screws to Persephone, knowing
I would love
she told anyone, she would have told Persephone.
I wonder if it's in shorts that she's written for Patreon or not.
Ooh, I wonder. Maybe
that would be a fun one. But yeah, I just absolutely was like, Persephone, you don't need to be telling her business to your mom. Like, come on now.
It's like, you're a grown married woman. You do not need to report to your mother.
Well, and it just feels very like when you were little and your sibling told you something and you had to go tell your mom that your sibling told you the thing.
Uh-huh.
You're not supposed to tell. And I was like, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, you're an adult. You know better.
But at the same time, there is kind of this childlike innocence for the Demetrio girls compared to the other families we see.
Yeah, and I mean, part of that's their later into the 13 life, right?
Yeah, they were much older when they when Demeter
was elected. Yeah. I also that I found really interesting, hearing about Demeter being elected and then Aphrodite hating her for the fact that she's elected. Like, it's
because
so
that means
weird.
people like her.
I know.
She doesn't like
and I was like, this is ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
Right? I mean, it was just bonkers, honestly.
It was.
How narcissistic this woman was. Like, talk about, if you don't know what a narcissist is, read this book. It is Aphrodite. Period. End of story.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's how she's often cast into things as well, like as a character archetype. Which tracks.
Yeah.
You know. And then I'm looking at my notes. I feel like we're running through them very quickly. We kind of get a taste for the next book because we meet Helen, who's in the next book.
I love Helen.
And Helen, I love
story. I love Helen.
I love Eros like carrying Psyche out basically, and then like obviously we have all the action happen after he takes her out and puts her in the security booth and she gets shot at. But I just love when he's like, "Why did you play a drinking game with my wife?"
I love that he didn't like immediately go to Psyche to place blame. He immediately went to Helen. It's like, why? Why did you do this to her?
Yes.
Which just shows their friendship, which I really appreciated in this book as well. Is his friendship with the
Helen.
I was gonna say like the family name because he really was friends with all of them.
Yes, and I don't know their family name. I listened to the audiobook, so I can't read. Like, I don't know how
as well this time, and I can't remember.
But yeah, I liked that too, and then I liked.
I sleep.
I know. It's okay. I'm just enjoying air conditioning.
In a week, y'all.
It has been. It's fine. But yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect, and then I loved that like she sobered up very quickly, obviously, and was like, "Oh no,
Uh-huh.
I need to handle this." Where was I going? But yeah, so we meet Helen, and Helen's in the next book. So like, I totally forgot that we met her in this book.
Okay.
There we go. Jessica, you are
Yeah, the
our hero
Casio
today.
family. That's what it is.
That's it. Okay. I was like, it's something weird, and it makes me think of old electronics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
I would have spelled it with a C. So there we go. But yeah, like I really enjoyed like the people he does have a relationship with really care about him and know like his mom's terrible, kind of, and
like,
don't want that for him.
What's her name? Hermes. Hermes
Yeah.
is great. And just her sneaky little way, he's like,
Well, Hermes is like the last book in the series, and I'm so mad about it. And I understand.
Why do we have to wait so long?
I get why. I understand. But I'm so mad about it. I want the Hermes
chaotic
book now.
bi energy that is Hermes. I need it now.
Yeah, officiating the wedding.
Oh my god.
Perfection.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess, okay, well, let's go towards the end of the book now.
Uh-huh.
Yes, Casio calculator watches.
That takes me back.
So towards the end here, because that's kind of where I feel like we're at. So after the whole drunk fiasco getting shot at, they go back to make their plans. And I think this is the part where Psyche, for me, like, I already liked her, but this is where I start to love her. And the way in which she is like, no, Eros, I'm going to protect you, damn it. I'm going to do this. I am protecting you this time.
You. How many times does she say that to him? It's like multiple.
And then he like gets to that feeling. I understand
you want to protect me, but who's going to protect you? I need to protect you.
And it just feels, it's just so cute. Like, it's so cute. She's like, I'm going to do this. And everyone just feels like she's the dumb influencer, I feel like, to an extent.
Oh my gosh, right? So many people
that she
think of her that way.
But
he immediately is like, you are sly, you are smart, you know how to play this game.
Yeah, he's like, wait a minute, you actually know how to play this game. And that, I feel like, plays out really nicely here because he goes off to go get something out of his mom's house. And she goes off to do something and he doesn't know what. And his mom's not there and he gets a bad feeling. And lo and behold,
the thing he was there to get is in the possession of his mother.
And his mom's just like, Psyche's just live streaming the whole thing.
The craziness that is.
Goading her on. Like, she's like, no, say how you really feel. Let's get this on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's done in like not a necessarily malicious way, but it's done in a way that no one can question what was happening. And that is exactly what they needed.
And I think it's that thing that nobody would have expected from her to an extent until she did it, right? Because they're like, she's just a dumb influencer. And I love that. And
Helen having to tell on herself just made me giggle. She's like, so I did bad.
Yeah.
He's like, what have you done?
She gave your mom's phone number to her.
And now I think I did a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, and I get why she would be like, maybe it's fine. I don't know. And then, oh no, it's not fine. But I just imagine, I want the short, like, the POV thing, like the from a certain point of view Star Wars thing, where it's everyone what they're doing.
I really want that for that moment.
13 when that moment happens, they're like,
we just need to pitch it to Katie. I'm sure she'd love to write it.
Yeah, she needs to, because that would be hilarious to be like, Zeus is what's going on? Persephone and Hades are like losing their shit in the underworld.
So funny.
It's just like, it just like speeds through everyone. Ares is like, crap, I'm gonna have to get my army together.
Yeah.
Jessica said Hermes, oh my god, my mouth.
Hermes
is the best. I love how Eros tells us that Hermes keeps trying to get into the safe room and she hasn't cracked it yet. I did love that too. I thought that was a great point.
Because that's just like little notes of the mischief that Hermes tries to cause. And
constant, and I love it. Constant. It's because we were saying Eros a minute ago, and I was like, wait, my brain is going to not say that word right. And then Born in a Book said Psyche took her out without laying a finger on her. And that is what I loved the most, is that she just said, I don't even have to touch you. It's going to be game over.
And when you think about it, Hades didn't even really touch Zeus either.
Exactly.
So there was no touching.
So Katee manages to make us like happy someone got not hurt or injured necessarily completely, but just
happy
like,
somebody's gone.
Happy somebody's gone without
having your hero or heroine cause physical harm, which I love.
Yeah, because Zeus did it to himself, basically.
Yeah. I mean, he's the one who was, trying to hurt Hades. And
this Eris was so afraid of having to hurt his mom, but he was willing to do it for Psyche. And she was just like, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to handle this. And do it in a way that you don't have to feel guilt about your mom.
She did not want to break the last part of his soul.
Yep. And I loved that balance.
I love when that happens in morality chain books. I love when the heroine's like, nope, I want your soul. So no, I'm not going to let you kill that destroy part of yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it worked just so well. And I think it was that thing where like, in some of the book, Psyche felt like she was just kind of there existing and like getting moved through the story, if that makes sense. And for me, I like that it felt like at the end she got to take action, versus feeling like she was just kind of being carried through a story.
Exactly.
Jessica said, Katee made me happy Zeus was dead. Exactly. And I was happy Aphrodite got her justice served, like seriously, it worked.
How much of that would have come back on Eros had it not been done the way it was done?
Exactly.
Because she basically admitted on camera that she manipulated her own child to do her will.
Exactly. And it was great. And then
people saw the poison she spit in his, like the way she talked to him behind closed doors in that moment.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get the appointing of the new Aphrodite, which is another member of the Cassio family. And then we also get news that Ares is not doing well.
Yeah.
And is going to have to step down, which is all of our setup for book 3, which is Wicked Beauty. I'm looking at it on my shelf. I'm like, okay, I've got them in order. I know the title.
And then we also have the political marriage of Zeus and Callisto.
Yes. But we just had, isn't Stoneheart her novella? No, Calypso is that one. Is that the same one? I haven't read Stoneheart yet.
So? I haven't read Stoneheart yet either. Maybe we should do that.
Probably. Hold on. I'm about to check myself because I'm like, wait a minute. So that's the part I don't know, because I don't know who Zeus is with, honestly. Or if we've gotten it yet. I think Midnight Ruin might be Zeus. Hold on. I'm checking. Very perfect.
So Stoneheart is the prequel. It's the 0.5.
Okay. I was like, I know Stoneheart, I think, has one of Demeter's daughters and Medusa. Because Apollo's Radiant
This is Medusa and yeah. Medusa and Calypso.
Okay. I was like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very curious to see where that goes. I know he's a later book as well. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Yeah, Aphrodite wanting to frame her son for his wife's murder was wild to read and so gross. I was just, it's a romance. We know it's gonna end okay, but I was thankful it's a romance.
You're like, I cannot believe you would do this to your own child.
But you're thankful it's a romance because you're I know it's gonna end okay, so I can at least get through it. And if it wasn't, I think I would just be angry because I would just be mad. I would be mad.
I would have chucked the book across the room.
Same. There's just no other choice.
I mean, I have chucked books across the room in the past, so
I try not to throw my Kindle, but I have.
Usually I've not ever thrown my Kindle. It's only been physical books. The first book I ever remember throwing was a book from the series where She Shall Not Be Named.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah. I've thrown some books. Okay, so do you have any other points for Electric Idol before we move on?
No, I don't think I do. I Well, I really liked that
Oh, I guess
Juliet
let's give our
still let,
ratings also.
yeah, I still like that Juliet let Eros into the building despite what his mother had done to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did
Agreed.
like that moment because it
Mm-hmm.
shows that people probably really knew more of what was going on, but they just couldn't say or do anything about it.
Agreed.
So I loved that. I gave it
Mm-hmm.
5 stars just because I really love it. I have a good time every time I've read it. I think I've actually read this one 3 times now because I read it once
Wow.
as an ebook as an ARC. I did
Mm-hmm.
this read on audio, and I have done one physical read with my physical
Okay.
copy. So.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sitting at like a 4.5. So by no means do I feel like it's a bad book. It's in some
It's just not
ways a
quite as good
favorite.
as Neon Gods for you.
I just think the pacing for me really struggled. I think the interiorness of the story, we'll call it. I feel so fancy, and
See,
I'm like,
I'm a
it's very
literary
interior
reader.
and quiet.
Like the
Yeah.
fiction I like is very literary. So I
Mm-hmm.
loved that insular where they're very much in their
Yeah.
heads trying
And
to
I
work
don't
through everything. And I love
dislike it. I just think, and I'm finding this a lot lately. There are books that I just feel like chop 50 pages off. It'd have been
that.
perfect.
And
Just
see,
not
then I
like a
feel like the
ton,
ending would have been even more rushed if we had taken 50
possibly.
pages out somewhere.
No, and you're not wrong. Like, and that's the hard part. It's one of those. It's a mix of
Plus,
like, I
all of the
just,
steamy
yeah,
scenes were so good. I don't want to lose
they
any of them.
were. That's the other thing. I don't want to lose those either. So I'm just sitting around a 4.5 on reread. I gave it a 5 the first time. Like, I still really
Mm-hmm.
liked it. So
Yeah.
all right, now it's time for On My Radar, where we share recent or upcoming book releases that we're excited about. But first, if you enjoy the podcast, we would really appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate and review us so we can continue to reach more listeners. And if you're interested in getting early access to episodes as well as I told you it was going to happen, exclusive bonus content with every episode, consider supporting us on Patreon. Huge thanks to all of our supporting patrons, including our world expanding patron Stephanie. You make this possible. This week's bonus content again will be the Kodansha and
Discussion
Bizap
about the
discussion,
new manga apps. Yeah.
new manga apps, and we'll give you some recommendations. So let's talk about our books. What do you got, Shay?
Okay. Pulling up my NetGalley to make sure I don't miss any. Marrying Off Morgan McBride is coming out the last week of May, which I'm super excited about. It's got that. I'm a Western romance reader too. I love me a good cowboy romance every so
You
often.
do.
So that's gonna scratch that itch for me. Another one that came out earlier this month was Pretend You're Mine by Lucy Score. Now, I have to be honest, I don't always love Lucy Score, but this one has been my favorite from her so far. It was really solid. I felt like the characters' ages felt appropriate to the reactions they were having rather than
Okay.
them being a lot older and making very immature reactions. So I felt like that
Mm-hmm.
balance was a lot better in this one. And plus, it's again that fake dating, forced proximity trope that I just really, really
Mm-hmm.
like. So this one worked very well for me. Clytemnestra by, oh shoot, what was her name? I sent it to you. Hold on.
Well, here, I'll jump in and I'll do two of mine and then we'll switch back.
Yeah,
You grab
Costanza Casati is her name.
Okay.
And that is absolutely, I'm so excited. It's a part of Greek mythology that we don't typically get retellings for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very, very excited to explore it. Okay, you give 3.
Okay. We've got Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, which is like the TikTok darling right now. Everyone is talking about it, hating, loving it.
P.S. I do want to say that the dragon sprayed edges, for anyone who's wondering, they are not completely gone because my store got a restock and they have the sprayed edges. So check your local Barnes and Nobles. If they get restocked, they'll probably get those. So don't worry, they're not gone forever yet.
Yeah, it's this first print run, which is like over 100,000 copies, I think I heard. So it's a big push. But this is a dragon romance fantasy. I just got the audiobook from the library and I'm pumped to listen to it. I do want to note something I've not seen talked about extensively about this is our female main character has a chronic illness.
Oh, really?
And she's not healed. She's not healed. It's just a thing that she has and it exists in the world and she's not magically healed. And when I found that out, I got even more excited for the book. But this is a college age,
more excited to pick up a copy.
Training school kind of somebody said there's like a Ninja Warrior reference in the training, like just one of those things where like they're training and they're going to be dragon riders. Very like mashup of like some of the YA a lot of us came up on, but now adults. And I personally have been dying for adult age, like college type setting fantasies like this, where they're training and learning things and doing the stuff that we get usually in the YA age group, but now adults.
Yeah.
And I know Bethany loved it, so I'm very excited to read it. Then we have That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human by Kimberly Lemming. This is out May 23rd.
I finally read I got drunk and saved a demon, and that was really, really fun.
It's really fun. So this is the third book in the Mead Mishaps. This is about a a dragon, I think, is the hero this time. Okay. Again, I'm not sure. Either way, it's the third book. These are really cozy romance fantasy situations. They're really cute. They're really fun. I highly recommend the series if you haven't read them yet. All of them will be re-released under Orbit on May 23rd. So right now you can't really get them, which is annoying, but I'm hoping for, a delightful continuation in the series. I've had a blast with each one as I've read them. So it's one of those things where I just can't recommend them enough.
Yeah, she ends up in a dragon's tower, so that would.
Okay, I was like, I'm pretty sure it's a dragon, but I might be wrong. Yeah. Then we have An Island Princess Starts a Scandal by Adriana Herrera. This is the sequel to A Caribbean Heiress in Paris. This is a sapphic book in this series, which I've been excited for a while. Manuela trades a summer with this Duchess in Paris for this beloved land she's an artist as well. I don't know a ton about it. I'm excited this comes out May 30th. It's one of those books I don't want to know a ton about. I just want to read it when it comes out. So that's my plan. And then I've got one more. Do you have any more, Shay?
I've got one more.
Okay, go ahead, and then I'll do my last one.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly mention Dark Succession by Katee Robert, which is a reprint of book 1 of the O'Malley's series that she did a while back.
Formerly the Marriage Contract.
Yeah, it was formerly called The Marriage Contract. The new covers are stunning. I just listened to it on audio as part of my reading experience, and I ended up really enjoying it. I'm debating whether I'm going to pick up physical copies or not. Sometimes with Mafia, I just like to listen to them, so I'm not sure I'm going to. But in this one, like when the O'Malleys came out, they only came out in like the smaller mass market size. But this rebranding of the O'Malleys, they're in trade paper size. So for people who don't like mass markets, you can get them in the normal trade paperback size, which is really fun.
And you can just get them now because you couldn't get them for a long time.
Exactly. And, Katee doing Mafia romance is not a bad idea. It's really good.
I would say that these also, if you're enjoying Dark Olympus, you would probably like these because I feel like
I agree.
The roots for Dark Olympus are here. Uh-huh. The roots are here. They're really fun to reread. For me to reread and visit because I was like,
Born in a Book is halfway through Dark Succession now. I love that.
Exactly. It's so fun. All right. My last one is Her Good Side by Rebecca Weatherspoon, which is her YA debut. And I'm really excited for her to debut.
Oh, yay. That's cool.
This is about two friends who start practice dating to build confidence about dating. And their kissing sessions start to feel too real. And he's like a photographer, and I think she's into sports and stuff. And it just sounds
Can I just say that?
really cute. I trust Rebecca with so much because I feel like Rebecca Weatherspoon is very, very talented.
Anything I've read by Rebecca, I've loved.
Never been disappointed. And even things that I didn't love as much, I still really, really enjoyed. So I just feel like she's going to kill it in YA. She understands that demographic. I think it's going to be a YA book for a YA age group, right? For young adults, not a YA book for adults. Right. And I'm excited for that because when I read YA books for adults, I get annoyed. Because I'm like, I don't want to be the target market.
It's like, no, you're writing for the wrong audience. Just write for adults already.
Exactly. All right, that's it for On Our Radar. So just so y'all know, the next episode is May 30th. Bethany will be back with Leanne talking about The Time of Contempt for the Witcher read-along. I am not going to try to pronounce that author's name because that's going to be a disaster.
I can't pronounce it either, and I have to try it.
Yeah, it's fine. Again, this has been Chapter 3 Podcast, and I'm your host, Izzy, or Isabel. You can follow us on Twitter at Chapter 3 Podcast. You can also find us on our individual YouTube channels. Everything will be linked down below for that. And then join us May 30th for the next episode. And the Patreon bonus content will be available in the next couple of days, give or take. Give Bethany a little grace on that. I don't have access to it, so she'll be uploading it. But we'll see y'all soon. Bye.
Bye.
Let me hit